All right, hey, my name is Derek Klassen, and we
And I'm
have
Ben
Ben
Natan.
Natan, yeah, and prediction show. And the first game we have on schedule is Cowboys at Bears this Thursday. Um, the Cowboys were abysmal on Thanksgiving, and there's really no way around that. Romo came out and had an okay first half, and then the second half he kind of exploded, and the game just kind of went downhill from there. Um, the big thing with the Cowboys is that they have to feed DeMarco Murray, but at the same time, if Romo's playing like he did against the Eagles, Murray's not going to be able to do it. It's a what's the word I'm looking for? It's a synchronized relationship, and if one's out of whack, the other one's going to be out of whack, and that's how the Cowboys offense works right now. And against the Bears, I think they can have that because the Bears defense has been pretty atrocious for most of the year. I mean, Chris Conte has been playing safety for God knows why. And I don't know. The entire defense, well, not the entire defense, but for the most part, it's a pretty awful group. And the Cowboys, the best offensive line in football, is going to be able to come out and feed DeMarco Murray and make Romo's job easier, and everything's assumingly just going to click. And then on defense, the Cowboys slipped a little bit, but against a struggling Cutler uh, and an average Bears line, if that, you guys like Tyron Crawford and maybe DeMarcus Lawrence are going to be able to come out and generate some pressure and get to Cutler and force him to be the struggling quarterback that he's been all year. So I like the Cowboys right now.
Yeah, I think that the Cowboys have gone through the season and they've been a little bit overrated on defense, especially because really you had a team that was running the ball so well throughout most of the season, and because they were running the ball well and they're sustaining drives, um, they were keeping their defense fresh, and because they were limiting the time of possession for the other team, defense was fresh. They were able to play a little bit better. Um, and you just saw competent play at best, but they were still allowing some of the highest yards per play in the league. Um, and adjusted, they still had one of the worst defenses in the league. But because the offense was able to keep the defense off the field for much of the year, people didn't really see that, including myself. I thought they were an improved unit, and then when you saw them not being able to sustain drives on offense, the defense was exposed, and that really showed against the Eagles. So if I'm the Bears, what I'm trying to do on defense against the Cowboys is just blitz, 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 because the fact of the matter is Tony Romo is not himself right now. He's not healthy. You saw that against the Eagles. He looked uncomfortable. He basically just gave himself up when there was pressure. He didn't want to take hits, and that was obvious the entire game. And that's a tone that you're going to need to set tomorrow, where you need to blitz him and you need to hit him and you need to get him out of rhythm. Because when you're taking him out of rhythm, you can really sell out to stop the run. And if you're stopping the run well, which has been difficult for the Bears defense, when you're stopping the run well, you can get your own offense going. Um, so, and on offense, I would run the ball like crazy on this Cowboys defense because it's very overrated, and Philly showed that they can run all over Dallas, and I think that's what the Bears are going to need to do, and run the ball, take pressure off Cutler. Don't force Cutler to make the stupid decisions that he's so prone to making. Um, and you have a really good chance of winning this game. Now, I know the Bears haven't been really good at home this year, but I think the Cowboys are going to get exposed towards the end of the year, and I think this is really going to be telling of that.
Uh, and that's fair. Really, these teams are really similar in that they have really bad defenses and a quarterback who's not been quite the same, though Romo's been better. I think the key in this game is going to be how good the Cowboys' offensive line is and how dominant they can be. in both the run game and the pass game. And I think that's really going to be the key for Dallas winning this game. I think it has shootout potential because of how bad these defenses are, but I think things are going to be easier for the skill players on Dallas. So I'd give them the edge.
So you're into fantasy baseball, then you gotta check out these new one-day leagues on FanDuel.com. Check out Chris Prince. He's won 539.
Everything okay?
Our lads had an ad, and that was not cool. Okay.
So, next game?
Next game. Steelers at Bengals. This is going to be a huge game for the division because the AFC North is really, really tight right now. And if I'm not mistaken, the Bengals do have the lead. That's a good tie.
Yeah.
And with the Steelers, I'd like to think it's not my Ravens bias, but I've never been a big Ben fan, and he's been playing better this year than I thought he would, but I think he's still getting overrated by some, and he's not going to be a world beater. But at the same time, I've kind of cooled on Todd Haley as an offensive coordinator, so I think I have to give him some credit. And against the Bengals defense, I think this is a defense that Ben's going to be able to get mobile with and run around and make plays on his own, and that's really where Ben succeeds. And he's going to have to feed Antonio Brown. Well, he's not going to have to, but it's going to be able to happen because this Bengals secondary is kind of struggling. Well, the entire defense is, and I think if you can feed Antonio Brown, which is going to be easier because Le'Veon Bell is having a phenomenal season. I think there's a legit argument to be made that he's been the best running back in the NFL.
Yeah, no doubt.
And he's just a dominant force, and the defense is going to be scared, and they're going to have to stack the box if they don't want him to do anything. And with the box stacked, that's where Ben's going to be able to find guys more easily and create plays and score touchdowns. So that's going to be huge for the Steelers is getting Le'Veon Bell going and then taking advantage of what they can do off of that. So that's going to be huge for them. On the other side of the ball, I don't like the Steelers on defense, but at the same time, I don't like how Andy Dalton's playing, and he's not playing well. AJ Green and Mohamed Sanu are going to be scary matchups for the Steelers, especially with William Gay not playing well. Anton Blake is Troy Polamalu isn't who he used to be. Ryan Clark. Not Ryan Clark. Who's their other safety?
Mike Mitchell.
Mike Mitchell. Yeah, their entire secondary is abysmal. And I think there's potential there for Mohamed Sanu and A.J. Green to really take advantage of that. But at the same time, I think the Steelers can generate enough pressure with guys like Cam Hayward to get to Dalton and force him off of his rhythm. The key for the Steelers' defense is going to be not letting Jeremy Hill get going, because it's the same concept with the Steelers' offense that Andy Dalton is going. He's struggling, and he needs a running offense to make things easier. And if Jeremy Hill can't provide that, he's going to struggle, and he's going to make mistakes. And that's what the Steelers need to do. I think Dick LeBeau needs to get aggressive and get at Dalton, but at the same time, make sure the interior is shored up. But I'm not entirely confident that the Steelers have that. So I think this is going to be a close game, given how important it is for the division, but I think I trust the Steelers on offense to be able to have a good game and put up points.
On defense for the Bengals, it's going to be really important to depend on their front four to generate the most pressure because Big Ben, you can say anything you want about his overall play, but he's still one of the best in the league against the blitz. And when you're taking extra guys out of coverage in order to get pressure on Ben, he's going to pick you apart, really. And that's not something that it's not something anyone wants. It's definitely not something the Bengals want. So they really need to depend on Carlos Dunlap, who's been playing very well, Geno Atkins, who's really come on as of late. They really need to depend on those guys to get pressure, and by allowing their front four to get pressure, they need to the rest of their defense could play coverage and hopefully limit what Ben can do in the passing game. As for stopping Le'Veon Bell, well, there's not much you can really do to stop him. It's more about limiting him and hoping he doesn't have a game like he did against the Titans. So once again, you're really depending on your front four to stop the run, and you can't really sell out in either area, stopping the run or stopping the pass, or you're going to get burned. And that's not something. And if they get forced into a shootout against the Steelers, I don't see the offense being able to sustain that. Now on offense, a little bit of a conundrum because you're playing a very bad Steelers defense. The corners are bad, the safeties aren't good, the linebackers overall aren't very impressive. I mean, the team, the defense overall is just not very good. But at the same time, the Bengals' right tackle situation is in flux. Andre Smith went down, and then Newhouse was god-awful, and they just signed Eric Winston, who last time he was in the league was awful. He was awful. So their right tackle situation is not going to be pretty. So they're going to, in the passing game, they're really going to be depending on a really quick hitting passing game. And it shouldn't be hard to get that going with A.J. Green, Marvin Jones, and Mohamed Sanu against these really bad, this is really bad Steelers defense. But I think it's going to come down to running the ball. Gio Bernard's healthy, Jeremy Hill is healthy, so it's just going to be running the ball some more. That's how they won against New Orleans. It's how they're going to need to win on Sunday, because if you are in a shootout with the Steelers, when you have Big Ben versus Andy Dalton, that's not a game that Andy Dalton's going to win.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, like you were saying, shootouts, Big Ben is not going to lose a shootout to Andy Dalton. And
right.
The Bengals have better weapons, but it does come a lot down to the quarterback situation. Roethlisberger has the advantage there. Next game we have Rams at Redskins, and the Rams came out and absolutely slapped the Raiders last week. That was pretty entertaining. I like the Rams because I don't like their passing offense because I don't think they have any sort of stability at quarterback, and their weapons are kind of weird, and with Tavon Austin, you have to force him the ball. Luckily, Stedman Bailey's been coming on a little bit as of late, but I think the key for them on offense is going to be beating Trey Mason, because I was down on him as a prospect, but he's been playing really well. And so the key is going to be blocking for him, getting him going, and making the passing offense a lot easier against what is, for the most part, a bad Redskins defense. The big thing that the Redskins have is Ryan Kerrigan, and if you can stop Ryan Kerrigan or minimize his role, that's what's going to be key for the St. Louis offense. Now, on defense, you're playing against not a bad Washington offensive line, but it's certainly not a good one. And, with a line of Robert Quinn, Aaron Donald, Michael Brocker, Chris Long, you have this disgusting defensive line against their defensive line against an offensive line that's not going to be able to handle it, and they're going to be able to get to Colt McCoy, and that's going to cause major issues. So for them, it's the same situation. You're going to have to get your running back going, but I'm not as confident in Washington being able to do that, and not necessarily because the offensive line is a lot worse than St. Louis's. It's more about the guys on the other side of the ball, and I don't at all see how the Rams are going to be able to lose that matchup. On defense, oh no, that's what I was talking about. Defense, yeah. That's
This
where
is weird. I don't want it to be recorded.
Hey guys.
what?
You guys don't want to mute me. I'm a good
Why the
person.
hell you mute? Why'd you mute me? Stop. Right now I'll wreck you, M9.
Football something.
It's that little
Ben and football something.
What's-
You guys are
what's going on?
cuties.
Uh,
Come on, you guys. Please don't kick me from the call, please.
Oh, there goes. Okay, and I'm gonna go. Kick me, come on, I'm ready.
That was a train wreck.
what the? Oh, yeah. I don't know actually what just happened, but let's move on.
Yes, let us do that. Wait, you talking about the Redskins?
Oh, yeah. Can't believe I'm gonna have to actually defend Washington. I think this on offense for them, it's going to be really important to run the ball because like you said, Washington's offensive line is not bad, but in a pass protection situation against Chris Long, who's healthy, Aaron Donald, who's been just outstanding this year, Robert Quinn, who, despite somewhat down years, still to some degree Robert Quinn, Michael Brockers, you're not going to be able to really stop these guys as pass rushers. And especially, I would worry about Morgan Moses against Robert Quinn on the outside. That wouldn't be pretty against defending against a pass rushing situation. So you're really going to need to depend on Alfred Morris and Roy Halou to get the running game going and keep the defense honest, because this game should not lie solely on Colt McCoy's shoulders. And what you really are trying to do is you're trying to run the ball effectively on this defense, and a defense that really, after the first level, is not very good. The linebackers aren't great. The secondary isn't very good. The corners aren't very good, and the safeties aren't very good. So if you can run the ball effectively over and over and over again, and Alfred Morris is outstanding, and Roy Halou's a good second back, you can set up situations where you can have those deep passes to Deshaun Jackson, or you could get the ball to Pierre Garçon, or you can get the ball to Jordan Reed. I mean, Washington has a ton of weapons on offense to get the ball to, but you just have to set up a situation against this specific defense where it makes it easier for a guy like Colt McCoy to get the ball to them. As for on defense, Washington's defense really only has two impact players with Ryan Kerrigan and Jason Hatcher, and I think both of them are going to do a very good job rushing the passer. But the Rams have been very good running the ball as of late with Trey Mason, who, like you, I was down on as a prospect, but there's no denying how effective he is right now. And they're running the ball very effectively, and they're running it a lot. And I mean, this run defense is not very good, and neither is the pass defense. So you just need to play assignment football and hope that your playmakers, Kerrigan and Hatcher, can at least impact one aspect of the game and kind of make the offense one-dimensional. And if you can make the offense one-dimensional either way, you can create a situation where it's easier to stop it. So it's a hope and pray situation. It's a hope and pray situation every week with Washington. So hopefully they're able to do it again.
Yeah, and I agree. And both offenses are the same way in that they're restricted at quarterback and they're going to have to depend on their running back. But Washington has the weapons advantage. And on the other hand, St. Louis's defensive line is absolutely incredible, and I think that they're going to be key to the game. That defensive line is ultimately what is going to be able to win the game for St. Louis.
Yeah, agreed.
Then we have another division matchup in Panthers at the Saints. The entire NFC South, quite frankly, sucks.
That's putting it lightly.
And I don't, coming into the year, I was probably the biggest Cam Newton fan you'd find, and I still am, but there's no denying how bad he's been the past, half season. And it's really not his fault. I mean, the weapons he has to deal with are not good. People are going to point to Kelvin Benjamin, and for as many flash plays as Kelvin Benjamin has, there's plays where he straight up gives up on routes and forces interceptions that aren't on Cam Newton at all. So, you have that aspect. He's playing behind the absolute worst offensive line in the league. Byron Bell is a laughable left tackle. So and the running backs aren't producing like they need to, and that's also not entirely their fault either, because the offensive line is so bad. So the entire Carolina offense is completely dysfunctional, and against what's not a good Saints defense, I still think they're going to struggle a lot just because of their own issues, not because of how good New Orleans is or can be. On the flip side of the ball, I like the Panthers' front seven, but I still think there's a lot of struggles in their back four. But at the same time, Breeze, he's still been good, and I've said this before, he's not the top 4 or 5 quarterback people want him to be. And I think that if you can generate pressure, which I can see Carolina doing with the good front seven that they have, they're going to be able to disrupt Breeze enough to maybe force some mistakes and limit how much they can score. I still think that his offense is going to be able to put up points, but the key is going to be minimizing it and then having the Carolina offense put up points. But I just don't see the Carolina offense putting up points, and that is what's going to lose in this game.
Yeah, I think this just the Panthers, outside of 3 or 4 players on the entire team, are just not talented. And there's really no way. There's no other way of putting it. You have Cam Newton, Greg Olsen. I'm just listing like known good players. You have Cam Newton, Greg Olsen, Kuechly, Davis, and the 2 defensive tackles. So you have 6 good players. Charles Johnson's aging a little bit. Kelvin is, as we touched on, talented. Can affect the game positively, but also can affect the game quite negatively. And their offensive line, Ryan Khalil is not great. Trey Turner's still a rookie, and he has his flashes here and there, but it's not a talented football team. And despite the record, New Orleans is a very talented football team. At every level of the ball, they have some kind of talent. And on defense, Rob Ryan, one of the most overrated coordinators in the league, but he loves to blitz, and that's something that he's well known for, and it's gonna really help against this Carolina offense, because you have a very aggressive front seven against a very bad offensive line, a hindered Cam Newton. He's still not moving like he has, and you have wide receivers who can't separate, even if it's going to be in one-on-one coverage. So this is a perfect matchup for Rob Ryan's defense to really shut down the Carolina offense, if you really want to call it that. And a guy who has been pretty good this year. He's had some very good games. Is going to be the kind of guy that really shuts down Kelvin Benjamin, physical corner. It's kind of same thing you saw with Xavier Rhodes last week, where Xavier Rhodes completely shut down Benjamin. And I mean, like Bradley Fletcher. I mean, these long physical corners are going to do a good job against Benjamin because they take away his size advantage for the most part. On the other side of the ball for New Orleans, once again, you're not really worrying about anyone on this defense aside from the two defensive tackles, and then the two linebackers. And what that's really doing for you is taking away your interior running game and taking away the middle of the field. So maybe you have issues getting Jimmy Graham going in the middle of the field, but you put Jimmy Graham on the outside and you put Kenny Stills on the outside, they're going to make plays against these corners who aren't very good and these safeties who are not very good. I don't see a way, personally. I don't see a way that Panthers come out of this situation with a win because they're just not as talented. And Cam Newton's obviously hurting, and he's the X factor in this game for the Panthers. Because if he's able to turn it on, then I think the Panthers have just as good a chance of winning as the Saints. But he's obviously not healthy. The team around him is failing him, and the way that the Saints match up on both sides of the ball, I just do not see a way the Panthers can win.
Yeah, I totally agree. There's really not any matchup that favors the Panthers at all. Like, the Saints really just win every facet of this game. They're just going to walk away. Next up is Jets at the Vikings. The Jets are the most frustrating team in the NFL in that Rex Ryan is terrible at what he does now. And
fair assessment.
I've been really critical at what he's done with his quarterbacks. I don't like the fact that he took Geno out of a fire, basically said you're terrible and you're screwing up the team, then tries to throw him back in, and then still won't admit that he's a better option than Michael Vick. And, that's frustrating, and that's not good for Geno's development, if he's even going to have any at this point, which is sad. There's not a lot to like on the Jets offense. The offensive line really isn't that good at all. They misuse their running backs. Chris Ivory isn't used as often as he needs to be over Chris Johnson. Jay Samaro is a steady producer, but he's still a rookie that's not anything special. They have Eric Decker, who is, again, he's good, but he's not a number one receiver, and the fact that they don't have one to take away attention from Decker kind of hurts what Decker can do, and it minimizes who he is. And they have all these, just number 2, number 3 guys like Jeremy Curley and Greg Salas and all these guys, and they don't really have any dominant weapon that's going to be able to help whoever the quarterback is. I think they're rolling with Geno again. So they're really going to struggle on offense against a Vikings defense that has a lot of talented pieces. Sharif Floyd, Everson Griffin, Anthony Barr, Xavier Rhodes, Harrison Smith. They have all these guys that are just going to be able to help win every facet of playing defense against this Jets offense. On the flip side, you have a very good Jets defensive front against a very bad Vikings offensive line. And that's going to be huge for the Jets, is dominating that offensive line and getting to Teddy Bridgewater. Not that Teddy Bridgewater is a world beater right now, but forcing a rookie to, get out of his groove and start making mistakes is, that's going to be huge. And that's really going to dismantle the Vikings offense. But if they can get Teddy into a minor groove, get some quick passes off against, for the most part, a struggling Jets secondary, which I think is possible because they have Greg Jennings, Kyle Rudolph. They have a few pieces that they can work with, but it's going to be huge for the Jets defense to really penetrate and deal with this bad Vikings offensive line and take advantage of it. And I think that they definitely will. But overall, I really don't like at all what the Jets are going to be able to do on offense, and that's going to lose in the game.
Yeah. I'll start with defense for the Vikings, and I think you said it. I don't see a way that the Jets can really offensively match up with what the Titans have on defense. Xavier Rhodes has been playing very well this year, and he matches up very well with a receiver like Eric Decker. And Jeremy Curley and Captain Munnerlyn pair up very well, more favoring Munnerlyn. And also Josh Robinson has been playing very well for the Vikings. They have a very underrated trio of corners, and they also have Harrison Smith, who's probably been one of the best safeties in the league this year. And their defensive line, Sharif Floyd, Brian Robeson, Everson Griffin. I mean, these are all impact players, and they also have Anthony Barr, who they use as a blitzer, and he's very effective there. This is a defense that is really talented and can do a lot of things, give offenses a lot of looks, and bring pressure from all over the field. And I think that's something that the Jets are going to have a big problem with. And the key for the Vikings is going to be able to stop the run, because as we saw on Monday night. It felt like a Thursday night game. We saw on Monday the Jets want to run the ball, and no matter who's at quarterback, they're going to try to run the ball in order to win. So it's up to Sharif Floyd and Anthony Barr and Chad Greenway, dear God, to stop the run and force the Jets into passing situations. And if they can force the Jets into passing situations consistently, you're winning. You're going to win the game, because the Jets cannot pass the ball, and the Vikings have very favorable matchups on defense. As for their offense, like you said, the Vikings' offensive line is abysmal. It's a bunch of turnstiles. They have a ton of injuries. Matt Khalil's been garbage this year. There's no way around it. But it's worth noting that Teddy Bridgewater has been one of the better quarterbacks in the league under pressure. Now, that could be skewed a little bit because of how much he is under pressure, so he could just be playing normally. But he has been very good, especially for a rookie, playing under pressure, which is worth noting. And I do not think the Vikings are going to be able to win this game running the ball against this Jets defense, because, like you said, Vikings offensive line's garbage. Jets, between Damone Harrison, Sheldon Richardson, Muhammad Wilkerson, Kendrick Ellis. I mean, these are and Quentin Coples, who's been playing well. You have a ton of talented guys, who can all stop the run very well, and also can rush the passer. But if you're able to establish a quick hitting passing game, getting the ball in the hands of your playmakers, getting the ball down the seam to Kyle Rudolph, and the Jets have been very poor at defending tight ends. But if you can get those quick matchups with your playmakers on the outside, and also being able to attack the middle of the field, the Jets secondary is not good. The corners are all right at best. The safeties are not very good. Calvin Pryor was really up and down the entire season, but he's been basically taken off the field. I think he got something like 20 snaps the last game. But my point is, overall the defense is not very good once you get past the first level. So if you're able to attack their pass defense, even if it's with a quick passing game, you have a good chance of winning. I think that the Vikings have a very good chance in this game, just because of how well they match up on defense and the possibility of being able to get those matchups with their wide receivers. Cordell Patterson, who hasn't been very good, but he matches up well because this is not a very good defense. Greg Jennings, Kyle Rudolph, I think those guys can be really key to this game. And if Teddy can bring that poise that he's been able to show over the course of the season, then they're going to be able to win the game. So I'm confident the Vikings come out with a win. But the Jets are a very Jekyll and Hyde team. you can get the same team that crapped all over the Steelers. You can get the team that we've been seeing every other week. So I think the Vikings win.
Yeah, and I think you can, like we did, we poked holes in both teams, and they're definitely both flawed. But the Vikings have that element on offense that, they're going to be able to get this passing game established and win the game through that. Next up is Ravens at the Dolphins. The Ravens game last week against the Chargers was frustrating because the Ravens had the game controlled they had it controlled for most of the game until how does that keep
Jesus.
happening?
What
Anyway.
the fuck? Sorry.
They had it controlled all the way up until the fourth quarter, and they absolutely blew it. And I think against a Chargers offense who is pretty good, to have controlled it and then lost it like that is scary, because I think that the Dolphins offense has potential to be just as lethal, because Ryan Tannehill is playing really well. Bill Lazor has kind of figured everything out, and he's getting the offense to click a lot more smoothly. He's creating space more easily for the players. He's using Lamar Miller a little bit better, and he's been able to produce. Jarvis Landry's coming on, and that's huge. And what really makes this a bad matchup on defense for Baltimore is their secondary is absolutely trash. Ladarius Webb has not been the same since the injury. His game was always click and close, and he's really not been able to play like that because he's just not as fast as he used to be. On the other side, we've had just it's been a circus over at the other side. We had Dominic Franks 1 week and played him and then cut him, and then it's just been rotating guys in, and none of them are good at all. I think we had Anthony Levine playing a lot of the snaps last week, and he's absolutely awful. And then at safety we have Will Hill. Will Hill is the only competent defensive back that the Baltimore Ravens have right now, and even he has lapses that will ruin a play. At the same time, he's generally where he needs to be, and he's made a lot of good plays over the middle. But Matt Elam has been bad, and he got absolutely destroyed last week. Darian Stewart is not any better. He's terrible in deep coverage. So this Baltimore secondary is really bad, and I trust that Ryan Tannehill is going to be able to come out and start dealing against them. The key for Baltimore is going to be able to get pressure, and I think they can do that. But at the same time, I think Tannehill handles pressure well. But Terrell Suggs is having a good year. Doomerville is having a spectacular season. But he's going to have to deal with Jawan James, and not that James can be able to shut down Doomerville, but he's going to be able to be okay. But you have Haloti Nada, Brandon Williams, C.J. Mosley blitz as well, Pernell McPhee. We have all these guys that can get to the quarterback, and that's going to be the key. Dean Pease needs to get aggressive and just get at Ryan Tannehill, because if you give him time, he's going to shred this defense. On the other side of the ball, it's going to be getting a running game established against Miami, and I think that's definitely something we can do. We saw last week, the Jets-Dolphins game. You can run on that Miami team, and Baltimore Ravens have a much better offensive line than the Jets do, and Forsett is playing really well. Taliaferro and Pierce have been all right in the carries that they've seen. So I think we're going to be able to get a running game established, and off of that, we're going to not be able to dominate at all through the passing game, because Flacco's has his moments, but he's kind of just there, and getting the ball to guys like I don't think any one Ravens receiver is going to have a big game. I think we might have Campanaro back, and it sounds stupid, but I think he could be a real game changer because I like what the Dolphins have on the outside, especially in Brent Grimes, and I think they're going to be able to play guys like Torrey Smith and Steve Smith really well. So I think if we can throw a guy in like Michael Campanaro and get him working over the middle, that's going to be huge. So I think Baltimore can win this game, but I'm a little skeptical that this Miami offense is going to be able to take over.
Yeah, I think that, like you said, the Baltimore secondary is gross, and that's going to be the mismatch that Miami needs to take advantage of all day on offense, because you have to depend on your offensive line. It hasn't been the same since Brandon Albert got hurt, but it's still an above-average unit, especially compared to last year. And Tannehill has been playing very, very good football. So you need to depend on your offensive line to protect the quarterback, and you need to attack these Ravens defensive backs. You have Mike Wallace, who we all know can threaten down the field. He has god-awful hands, but eventually he'll catch a ball and make a play. And then you have Jarvis Landry, who's been huge for the Dolphins this year. Easily been their best receiver. Great over the middle, great hands. He's just been really, really good for the Miami Dolphins, and he's impacted the entire game, working over the middle against the slot corners, linebackers, safeties. Doesn't matter. He's gonna be that matchup that Ryan Tannehill and the Dolphins need to take advantage of constantly. With running the ball, this offensive line isn't as great running the ball as they are in pass protection, but you have to run a little bit to obviously keep the defense honest, but that's not gonna be the what you're building your offense off of, because you have guys on the other side of the ball like Haloti Ngata, Brandon Williams, Suggs, Dumerville, the linebackers. All of them are very good defending the run. So by establishing a game plan around running the ball, you're really playing to defensive strengths, which is stupid. So you want to attack the middle of the field with Jarvis Landry, and if you're able to do that while keeping the defense honest, I think the Dolphins are going to be able to be very successful on offense. Attack the middle, force the safeties to come up to stop those middle of the field passes, and then attack deep with Mike Wallace and hope he catches the ball. On the other side of the ball, we all know the Ravens love to run the ball, but it's clear that Miami Dolphins have, except for the game that they had against the Jets, for the most part, they have a very, very good defense, front seven. Cameron Wake, Olivier Vernon, both very, very good, both pass rushers and as run defenders. So you're really going to depend on those guys to stop the run for you, and you're also going to get contributions from Jared Odrick. And I think that this Miami front is talented enough to stop the run and force the Ravens into a passing situation. And as soon as they go into a passing situation, you have the plus pass rushers. You have Cam Wake and Olivier Vernon who can really get after the passer. I think the Dolphins have a really good chance in this game, just because of how good their front four is, and by having a good front four and stopping the run, hopefully you're going to be able to force the Ravens into passing situations. And having a disruptive front four like that against an inconsistent quarterback like Joe Flacco is a good way to play good defense on Sunday. And as for their offense, with the way that the Ravens secondary is playing, and it's a really favorable matchup for Tannehill.
Yeah, I can agree with that. As much as I want to say my Ravens are going to win, I don't know if I trust the defense as a whole against this Miami offense, and it's going to be our secondary that loses us another game, and I don't know how many times I've said that this year, but it's going to be the truth again. Next up, we have Colts at Browns. I definitely like the Colts in this game on offense. Well, the Colts' offense is they're going to pass a lot because that's just what Pep Hamilton does. And their running backs are salvaged. They don't really have anyone that's that good right now. And they're going to be passing against what can be a very good Browns secondary. Joe Hayden he started off the year pretty bad, but he got really, really good, and he's been playing well. Justin Gilbert's slowly progressing, and he's not great by any means, but he has his moments, and he's been serviceable in coverage, and that's allowed Buster Skrine to play in the nickel, and that's where he's more comfortable. And then at the same time, you have Deshaun Gibson and Dante Whitner playing safety, and both of them are good at what they do. So you have this Browns secondary that has potential to be very good, and but at the same time, Luck's been playing really well this year, and he has T.Y. Hilton, who's been playing incredible, Reggie Wayne, Toby Fleener, who's been playing better than last year, which is nice to see because he was awful last year. And the offensive line seems shored up a little bit, especially with Jonathan Harrison playing center. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on Andrew Luck again because he's going to have to just throw the ball again and again and again against what is a really good Browns secondary. And I want to say that Andrew Luck is going to play that well, and I'm going to have confidence in him going into this game, despite how good the Browns secondary is. On the flip side of the ball, you kind of have a mess at the Browns quarterback situation, and I don't think there's a wrong answer as to who you start. I'm okay with starting Hoyer again, but Hoyer's not a good quarterback, and he limits the offense, and this Colts, their corners have been playing very well this year. Vontae Davis is going to be able to handle Josh Gordon. Greg Toller's been playing rather well. And rushing the passer, Bjorn Werner has been playing really well. And even in coverage, when they put Werner in coverage, he's been really well. They're really good. So I think that the Colts have enough pieces on defense to stop what is a limited Browns offense. But at the same time, Joe Thomas and Joel Bitonio are nasty, nasty linemen to run behind. And Isaiah Crowell and Terrence West have proven that they're talented runners. And you can get the running game going. That's what the Browns have done all year is feeding off the running game and forcing teams to sack the box and then attack deep down the field. And like I said, these Colts corners are good, so I don't know if they can do that, but that's going to be their game plan, and that would be how they beat defense. But like I said, I trust this Colts offense, despite how good the Browns defense is, and I think Andrew Luck can come out and deal like he has been all year and win this game.
Yeah, and before I kind of get started on the whole game plan aspect, I think it's important that we talk about the Brian Hoyer situation a little bit. And obviously, he's had this poor stretch of games, and Johnny Manziel gets put in the game and lights it up. Well, for the most part, he had some good passing plays. He had that rushing touchdown against man coverage, which was very good on his part. I know some people were like, "Oh, he had guys open," but he did the right thing, in my opinion. But that obviously caused a controversy where people want Manziel to start now. And I think in any other situation where you have just this dynamic going on at quarterback, I would put Manziel in. But for what the Browns have going on right now, where they're in a serious position to make a run at the playoffs, you have to, right or wrong, you really have to go with what you know. That's the right decision to make. And people can talk about Hoyer has, he's had this stretch of really bad play. There's no getting around that. Nobody's really going to say otherwise. But he also had a stretch of good play, or at least manageable play, at the beginning of the season where the offense was moving, the passing game was working efficiently, the running game was working, and because of that, the Browns were able to score points and win games. Now, and the important thing to look at is Hoyer is predictable in this offense for the Browns, and they know what they're going to be able to get from him, and therefore they know how to game plan around using him. Now, Manziel, in a game situation outside of this little snippet that we saw against the Bills, is unpredictable, and he's really an unknown factor. And because you're in a position to really win your division, you want to go with what you know, so you can safely game plan around him, and hope that he can game manage you into a playoff situation. Now, I'm not saying Hoyer is actually good. Now that's going to be another thing, because Hoyer is not actually like a good quarterback, but he fits what they're doing very well on offense. As your article pointed out, that Kyle Shanahan's doing a very good job of playing to Hoyer's strengths to move the ball. So I think it's important that they stick with Hoyer because he's that known commodity, and they can put themselves into playoff contention by working with that known commodity. Now, if they already had 8 losses and they were out of the playoff contention, that's when you see what you have in your rookie, because teams like the Jaguars or teams like Oakland, where they kind of knew that they weren't in any kind of contention, it was smart to play the rookie to see what they have to get them in game, because that's important. But when you have a guy who's an unknown and as raw as Manziel really is, in a situation where this could really decide the outcome of your season, where it's teetering, you go with the veteran, you go with what's known. I think they made the right call there. As much as I would like to see Johnny Manziel play on Sundays, but I mean the logical thing is having Hoyer play.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. In my opinion, you can argue both sides of it pretty well. The thing with Hoyer is that it seems like there's more of a backing in the locker room behind Hoyer, and like you said, everyone knows what they can get out of Hoyer. And while I think I've bagged on Hoyer all year, and especially these past few games have been terrible, like you were saying, Shanahan knows exactly what he can get out of Hoyer, for better or for worse. And with Johnny Manziel, like you said, other than the small snippet of the Bills game, we don't know what he's going to do in game situations, and that's good and bad. Bad in the sense that it's tough to call plays when you don't know what your quarterback is going to do. But at the same time, you can argue that defenses aren't going to know what Manziel is going to do, especially not only because he's unpredictable on a play-to-play basis, but that there's not NFL tape out there of how to play against Johnny Manziel. So, there's a couple things to weigh on each side, but I'll agree with you in that, Hoyer is, I guess, how they got here, and, what they know, or they know what they can get out of him, and, like you said, you don't want to risk the playoffs throwing in a rookie, and, as much as I do want to see Johnny Manziel, I think it's okay to have made the decision that they did.
Yeah, and I think given the situation, you have a first-year coach and a possible playoff situation in a tight division. It's too much logically to put that on the line. I think they made the right call.
Yeah.
Okay, so now going to actually how the Browns are going to win this football game against the Colts. Now, as you said, the Colts love to pass the ball, and that's really good for the Browns because the Browns' run defense is abysmal. They really can't stop the run at all. And playing passing a lot is really playing to the Browns' strength. And even if the Colts are smart and try to run the ball, you're running the ball with Trent Richardson, and Trent Richardson will get his carries, and Trent Richardson sucks. So even if the Colts are running the ball, they're not actually running the ball. I mean, Trent Richardson is his own run defense. So I don't think the Browns are really going to need to sell out to stop the run. It would be stupid to sell out to stop the run against Andrew Luck. So you really got to be able to get after the passer. Paul Kruger Barkevius Mingo, both playing very well, both getting after the passer very well this year. And it's going to be really important that they're able to get that pressure off the edge on Luck. Now, the Browns don't have a lot of interior presence outside of John Hughes, but they're really going to need to get that edge pressure and get pressure on Luck, because Luck at his worst, he's usually at his worst under pressure. And when you put him in pressure situations, he plays a little bit of YOLO ball, and then his turnovers happen, which hasn't happened as much this year, but that's what you're hoping to get from him. And if you're constantly having them pass, like you said, the Browns have very good corners. Joe Hayden's playing very well. Justin Gilbert has improved massively from where he was at the beginning of the season, and undrafted rookie free agent Quan Williams has been amazing. I mean, especially for an undrafted player, he's been outstanding in the slot. And so you have three very good corners covering a good group of receivers: Reggie Wayne, Dante Moncrief, T.Y. Hilton. I mean, those are three very good receivers, and so that matchup's going to be really, really fun to watch. So if you're taking away the corners, it's important to – I mean, if you're taking away the receivers, it's important to lock down the middle of the field. And frankly, I think Kobe Fleener is awful. I think that his good plays are more product of the offense and more product of Luck making him look better. But you also have Carlos Dansby coming back from injury, and Christian Kirksey, two linebackers who are good in coverage, so they'll be able to lock down the middle of the field. So I like the way that the Browns defense is going to be able to match up with the Colts offense. So just playing playing good. Okay, good. Playing good. Playing good pass defense is going to be important. But I do think they match up well. As for on offense, they're going to need to run the ball. The Colts have Vontae Davis, who's outstanding. Greg Toller, who's improving, improved more like. He's not great, but he's not bad either. And they're getting decent safety play. And it's worth noting that Bjorn Warner and rookie Jonathan Newsom have been very good off the edge this year. So I think that the Browns would be smart to continue to play like they have been, run the ball. Terrence West, hopefully Isaiah Crowell can be healthy. Just run the ball over and over and over again, and then open up the passing game. I think that an issue with the Browns' passing game is they're trying to force it to Josh Gordon over the past two games, and Josh Gordon's getting his numbers, which he's a great player, but you can't have the offense so predictable where you're like, okay, the ball's going to go to Josh Gordon, because you're making it very easy for the defense. You have to spread the ball around. Andrew Hawkins is still a very good player. Taylor Gabriel, the undrafted free agent, has been outstanding for them. He's very good after the catch, very quick player. And even Travis Benjamin has been a good contributor as that third receiver in the absence of Josh Gordon. So you need to spread the ball around in the passing game, but you're winning by running the ball. Like you said, Joe Thomas, Joel Bitonio, two incredibly good offensive linemen, arguably the best. I mean, Joe Thomas is a Hall of Famer, and Joel Bitonio is playing like one of the best guards in the league. So you got to run the ball and do it quite a bit, and make it easy for Hoyer, because that's how they've been winning all year is by making it easy for Hoyer. That's what Kyle Shanahan's been doing. Run the ball, open up those easy throws, and that's how you're going to win the game against this Colts defense. But I think that the Colts offense is too explosive, and I think that the Colts come out with a win. But if the Browns are going to win, it's going to be by running the ball and playing good pass defense.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. It's definitely going to be that Browns secondary versus the Colts passing game that's going to make or break this game. Next up, we have Bucks at Lions. I don't like the Bucks in most areas of this game.
non-Mike Evans areas of this game.
Exactly. Mike Evans has been playing really, really, really well, and he's just been able to dominate games at certain points. And then Vincent Jackson's been playing well, and those two complement each other well in that they're both just big, scary receivers, and they both have that element to them. And Evans is he's been outplaying Vincent Jackson, and that's not even a slight to Jackson. Evans has just been playing really well, but at the same time, Darius Slay of the Lions has been really good at cornerback this year, and I think that's going underrated. His development has been just awesome to watch, and I think if he can kind of shadow Mike Evans, not that he's going to dominate Mike Evans or anything, but if they want to minimize the best piece on this Tampa Bay Bucs offense, it's going to be put Darius Slay on Mike Evans almost every snap. And that's what's going to make the Bucs' life difficult. Because they don't have any stability at quarterback either, or not a good quarterback. Martin, I know he's been back and playing well, not as well as what got him hype originally, but he's still a good running back. But I don't trust this offensive line against Fairley, Sue, Ansah. That's a really good defensive front, and they're not only going to be able to help against the run game. They all can create pressure well, especially Ziggy Ansah has been really just absolutely absurd after. I think it was the first 5 weeks. He just kind of blew up after that, and he's been really good. So I don't really like the Bucs on offense. On the other side of the ball, Gerald McCoy is going to be huge because this Lions offensive line has kind of been struggling, and they're going to need to get pressure against Matthew Stafford, who has obviously Calvin Johnson, Golden Tate, who's been playing well. So, and against what's not a very good Bucs secondary, their best corner is Alteron Werner, and he's not going to be able to handle Calvin Johnson to any capacity. The Bucs defense is going to have to create pressure against what is a struggling Lions offensive line, and outside of Gerald McCoy and Michael Johnson, I'm not sure. Well, and Levante David's a good blitzer, but aside from that, I don't think the group is well-rounded enough to make that happen. I think Stafford's going to be able to be comfortable enough to put up points for the Lions offense and make the Bucs defense struggle. And the Bucs defense is like I said, I don't like the Bucs in most aspects of this game, so I don't think they come away with a win.
Yeah, I agree with you. The Bucs offensive line, basically every player is terrible. There's you can't mince words with. They're really, really bad group of players. And on the flip side, the Lions' defensive line is terrifying. Ndamukong Suh is playing one of the best defensive linemen in the league. Nick Fairley's playing well. Ziggy Ansah is playing well. There's you're not going to be able to pass on this defense because there's going to be no time. But in the event that there is somehow time to pass the ball, you're going to have to lock down Mike Evans. And luckily for the Lions, they have two good corners. Darius Slay's been playing outstanding football, both as a run defender and in pass coverage. He was awesome, really awesome against the Bears on Thanksgiving. And Rashean Mathis, despite being 50 years old, is still playing very well at corner. So it's going to be really hard for the Bucs to get really anything going in the passing game. And as for the running game, they can't do anything running the football. And it really just comes down to there's no out scheming here at all. It just comes down to the Bucs line being terrible. Doug Martin. Doug Martin is averaging 2.9 yards a carry, and 173 of his yards, I think he has like 250 yards, 173 of his yards have come after contact. That should paint a picture of how bad this Bucs offensive line is. It's horrible. And now you're asking them to block Ziggy Ansah, Ndamukong Suh, Nick Farrell. I mean, there's no way. There's no way that that the Bucs are going to get anything going on offense. And on defense, you always run into the possibility. On offense for the Lions, you always run into the possibility of getting bad Stafford, which can lose you a game. But the Bucs defense overall, outside of Gerald McCoy, who's a monster, outside of Gerald McCoy, you really have nothing in terms of pass rushing. Michael Johnson has not been playing well. Outside of McCoy, there's really no pass rush threat unless you're going to bring guys out of coverage to blitz. And when you don't really have talented guys in coverage in the first place, it's going to be really hard for you to blitz without getting shredded. And the Lions can keep the defense honest. They can run the football with Reggie Bush and Joique Bell, Theo Riddick. I mean, they have three good running backs to run the ball with. And then they have Calvin Johnson, who's Calvin Johnson, and no one's going to be able to cover him for the Bucs. Jonathan Banks has not been very good this year. Alteron Werner is better off covering Golden Tate. There's just no way you're going to be able to lock down Calvin Johnson. And if you're able to find a way to lock down Calvin Johnson, you're most likely going to leave Golden Tate open. Golden Tate, who's been outstanding this year, and you're going to get burned either way. There's no way that the Bucs are able to squeak out a win unless it's by some miracle.
Yeah, I mean, like we were both saying, there's really just too many weak spots on this Bucs team for them to be able to win against the Lions team that's been playing really well. Next up is Texans at Jaguars, and the Texans on offense, Ryan Fitzpatrick is not very good, but of all of the backup stopgap types in the NFL, I think there's an argument to be made that he's the best one, and what he can do is just get the ball to Andre Johnson and Nuke Hopkins. Nuke has been playing incredible football, and I think that's gone a little underrated here. And this Jaguars secondary just isn't very good, and I think Nuke and Andre Johnson are one of the best receiver tandems in the league, and I think they're going to be able to come out and get open, and Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to be able to get them the ball. And Jets offense, Jets, I don't know why I said Jets. This Texans offensive line isn't anything special, but their big thing is going to be stopping Senderick Marks. And if they can do that, which I'm not saying is an easy task at all, but if they can at least minimize his role, that'll be helpful, and just get Ryan Fitzpatrick the time to hit and open Hopkins and Johnson, and then Foster's going to be able to run the ball rather well for the most part, I would think, and a lot of it is just going to be Ryan Fitzpatrick not making mistakes. On the other side of the ball, you have a very talented Houston front against what is a below-average Jaguars offensive line. You have J.J. Watt, Jared Crick, Whitney Merciless, who's been playing really well. You have a lot of these guys on the front that are going to be able to create pressure and get to Bortles, and Bortles has not been playing well by any means. I know he ended the last game well, and that was impressive, but for the most part, we've seen a not very good Blake Bortles, and I think that this front can expose that again, and make his day really, really tough. And that aspect alone might win this game for the Houston Texans.
Yeah, that would be my biggest worry. I think that should be every team's biggest worry when J.J. Watt's playing on the other team, but especially with the issues that the Jaguars have had along their offensive line, specifically on the perimeter. Luke Kuechly has been very bad this year, and asking Luke Kuechly, whoa. Luke Jokel, sorry. Asking Luke Jokel, sorry about that. Asking Luke Jokel to block J.J. Watt is just kind of rude, and it's a lot to ask of Jokel. And Jaguars are gonna need to have a tight end play on the side of J.J. Watt, chip him, do anything to slow him down. That's gonna be really hard. And it's complicated because you need to in the passing game you need to establish a quick passing game, attack the middle of the field if you want to beat this Texans defense. You can't have long developing plays against them because you have J.J. Watt and Whitney Mercilus. I mean, you have two very good pass rushers against what is not a good pass blocking offensive line, and so you need to have that quick middle of the field type of passing game. But Bortles is best suited going down the field, and he's had struggle really attacking that short intermediate passing game. So you're kind of asking him to do something he's not really strong in doing. But that's how you're going to win in the passing game. But you really need to be able to run the ball to take pressure off of him. Feed Denard Robinson. Just keep on doing it. Run away from Watt. That's all you can really do on offense, because he really is a game changer. And it's going to be so hard to slow him down. But you need to be able to slow him down. You need to be able to get that short passing game going, and you need to run the ball. That's the best chance the Jaguars have of winning on offense. As for their defense, Ryan Fitzpatrick threw 6 touchdowns last week, and that's ridiculous. I mean, any way you slice it, that is ridiculous for Ryan Fitzpatrick to throw 6 touchdowns. Wow, and DeAndre Hopkins has been playing at a ridiculous level, like you said, and that's going to be what the Jaguars are going to be tasked with slowing down. Their corners haven't been playing great. They have some good players. Demetrius McCray, Aaron Colvin played well last week. I mean, they have players in their secondary, but when you're asking them to slow down Andre Johnson and DeAndre Hopkins, that's a lot to ask. So you're really depending on your front seven to get pressure, and that's what they've been really good at doing this season. Sindaric Marks is a beast, probably one of my favorite players to watch in the league, especially when he rushes the passer. He's really, really fun to watch, and I think he's going to be the key for the Jaguars to keep this game close, and putting pressure on Ryan Fitzpatrick. But that's going to be important for them, because you need Sindaric Marks to create that interior pressure and allow your guys to make. And by focusing on him, you can get one-on-one matchups on the edge. So if they want to stop the vaunted Ryan Fitzpatrick-driven passing game, you're going to need Marks to make his plays. And as for the running game, the Texans love to run the ball, regardless of who's playing running back. If it's Arian Foster, then Arian Foster's been outstanding this year when he's healthy. And even their backups, Andre Blue was able to be pretty productive in a starter role when Foster is hurt. So you need to be able to plug up the run. This is a game where you would have to sell out to stop the run. I don't think that Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to throw 6 touchdowns again. This is not when you're playing a guy like Ryan Fitzpatrick, you're not playing to him. You're playing to the running game. And I think that's what you're going to need to do. You need to have your corners play well. You need to be able to get pressure almost immediately, because if you give Fitzpatrick time in the pocket and he's able to find DeAndre Hopkins or Andre Johnson, that's when you're going to lose a game. I think that the Jaguars lose. I think it might be a close game just because of how the Jaguars defense has been playing this season. But unless Bortles can continue the progress that he had in the Giants game, if you can take that momentum over to this game, then I don't see them being able to put up points on offense against this against J.J. Watt, really. So I think the Jaguars lose.
Yeah, that's fair, and it's not outrageous to think that the Jaguars are going to lose the game. And really, you stack up, matchup to matchup, and the Texans, even if it's a slight advantage, have an advantage in every aspect of the game. Next up is Bills at Broncos, and the Bills, again, it's another team without stability at quarterback, and what is frustrating, especially with them, is that they have so many weapons that they could use. They have a solid, not great or anything, offensive line, but then you have Sammy Watkins, Robert Woods, Mike Williams. You have a lot of talented receivers that are able to get open, but you don't have a quarterback that can get them the ball as efficiently as you want to. And that would be especially tough anyway against the Broncos because they have such a talented secondary with Brad Roby, Chris Harris. I don't know if Chris Talib is supposed to be back next week. But T.J. Ward, and then rushing the passer, you have DeMarcus Ware, who's been playing well, Von Miller. There's a lot of aspects that are going to destroy this Bills passing game, and that's going to derail what the Bills are going to be able to do on offense. Defensively, it's going to be about getting pressure on Peyton Manning with Marcel Darius, Kyle Williams, Mario Williams, Jerry Hughes. So they have all the guys to definitely get to Peyton Manning. It's going to be about executing, and I certainly think they can. And I think a lot is going to fall onto Peyton Manning's shoulders because of how well the Bills are going to be able to play run defense against what is consistently overrated Broncos running backs. And if they can slow down the run game and force Peyton Manning to throw, I think that'll. I mean, on Peyton Manning, you can't say, "Oh, put it on Peyton Manning." That's the best way to win the game, but it kind of is because you have to hope that this Bills secondary, who's not bad by any means, Stephon Gilmore's been playing okay. I know Denora Sears, he's kind of an underrated safety. So they have a few decent guys in the secondary that if you can force Peyton Manning to get a little uncomfortable, he can make some mistakes. But then again, Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders have been playing outstanding. You have Julius Thomas. So I think on offense, Bills are going to get derailed. On defense, I think as good as their defensive front is, Broncos just have too many weapons that are going to be able to expose this Bills defense, and the Bills are going to lose again.
Yeah, I think in terms of playing the Bills' offense, you really can't respect any aspect of their passing game or their running game. I mean, you just you load the box. You have DeMarcus Ware, you have Von Miller. Both are playing at a very high level. You have guys like Malik Jackson. You have really talented guys in your front seven, and you've really just got to throw everything in that front seven at this Bills offense because Kyle Orton is anything but a world beater. And when you have these corners who are all very good, Chris Harris, Aqib Talib, Bradley Roby, they're all playing very well, matched up on good receivers, but Robert Woods isn't going to be able to get targeted with the way that.
Excuse me, gentlemen. Gentlemen, I understand that your computer is having problems, that it is running slow, and I wish to fix the computer.
Ow.
Why does that keep on happening? Okay, we just gotta hope that was interesting. So you have receivers. Sammy Watkins is obviously a lot of press, and the thing with Sammy Watkins is he is not healthy, and he's not running routes well. He's not being able to separate in coverage because he's not running very well. So he's going to be easily taken out of the game by Talib or Roby or Harris, wherever he's lined up. And then Woods isn't going to be able to get his target because of how well the defensive line is probably going to play against the not very good Bills offensive line. So just being able to consistently throw everything you have at the Bills on defense, you're going to be able to stop them. And offensively, the Bills have a very good defense. Kyle Williams, Marcel Darius, Mario Williams, Jerry Hughes. Those guys, they're all studs. And you really have to. And also, it's worth noting that Peyton Manning has not been playing like Peyton Manning recently. The past 4 or 5 games, he's not consistently been the player that he was at the beginning of the season. And like in the Rams game, where the Rams were able to get pressure with their front 4, you saw Peyton Manning's play drop off a lot. So in order to combat that, you really need to run the ball. They did it against the Chiefs. The Chiefs have a lot of talent in their front 7, but they were able to run the ball really well, really pound the ball down the Chiefs' throat, and took pressure off Peyton Manning, who hasn't been playing well. And by taking, this is a very simple formula. By taking pressure off Manning, you're able to take those shots later in the game with Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, Julius Thomas. There's ridiculous talent that the Broncos have on offense. But in order to take advantage of it, especially against a front like this, you're going to have to try to run the ball. Because when you come out and you're going to try to sling the ball all over the place against a very, very good pass rushing front, you're going to have a lot of issues. So run the ball, run it some more, and then take your chances in the passing game. That's how the Broncos win.
Yeah, I think they will. Next up is Chiefs Cardinals, and I've always been down on Alex Smith, and with him, he's conservative to a fault, and that's what frustrates me about him. A lot of people like to note it as, well, he takes care of the ball. Well, he does, but at the same time, he leaves yards on the field, and against a very good Cardinals defense, you can't just sit back and play like that, because if you try to play too conservatively, you just can't do that, because I guess you can make the argument if you try to get aggressive. Patrick Peterson is probably going to have a flash play. Tyrann Mathieu. Gerard Powers has been playing well. So I just don't trust Alex Smith against this Cardinals defense. And that's my biggest qualm with their offense. And their offensive line has struggled. And why am I thinking Arakpo? Alex Okafor has been coming on strong for the Cardinals as of late, and Todd Bowles does a good job of creating pressure. Calais Campbell's obviously really good. So I don't trust the Chiefs' passing offense, so it's obviously going to have to be put on Jamal Charles, one of the best backs in the league, making life easier on Alex Smith and forcing the Cardinals to get in the box, and hopefully allow Alex Smith to more easily complete passes. On the other side of the ball, again, you have another struggling offensive line with the Cardinals, and the Chiefs are certainly a team that can create pressure. Dontari Poe, Justin Houston, Tom Haley. You have all these guys that are definitely going to be able to create pressure, and Drew Stanton is far from a world beater. He's proven that he can throw down the field well, but consistently throwing to all areas of the field, he's not. And if you can get to him and force him to make mistakes, that's going to be key for the Chiefs winning this game. And like I've been saying, I noted all those guys. I think they can certainly do it.
For the Cardinals on offense, it's going to be hard to pass against this Chiefs defense just because of Justin Houston. And I think it's really fair to say that Justin Houston has been outside of Watt, the best defensive player in the league this year, both as a run defender and he's a devastating pass rusher coming off the edge. And as you said, the Cardinals' offensive line is not good outside of Jared Veldheer, who's playing well. So I think that the Cardinals are really going to need to depend on Veldheer to hold his own on the edge, be it against Justin Houston or beat against Tamba Hali, because the Cardinals want to throw the ball down the field. And I think if you're able to just get enough time to get the ball off, I think they have a good chance throwing down the field. Maybe not with Larry Fitzgerald or with Michael Floyd because of the physical.
Man, what this is right here? What you talking about? Football?
Oh my God.
What's
Okay. Getting the ball down the field against the physical corners that the Chiefs have on the outside, you're really going to want to attack the middle of the field with John Brown, which they've been able to do so well this season, getting him deep down the field, get him behind those safeties. That's how you're going to be able to beat the Chiefs on defense.
that's my mama, bro. Hello. I am the Samama Babara.
Oh, Jesus.
And I think that they got to look at what the Broncos were able to do last week and try to establish some sort of running game. I'm not sure what the deal is with Andre Ellington. I heard some things about him not being healthy. But even if it's with Marion...
I don't slept the black of you. Hello. I am from...
This is getting out of hand.
Is there a way to make
No, that's what is annoying.
private?
No.
No?
No.
Shoot. Okay. Well, we can carry on. They're gonna
Nick Rose up in here, man. I'm Nick Rose. How you doing?
Oh my God.
Okay, so I think that if they're able to tack down the field with John Brown and establish some sort of running game by replicating what the Broncos were able to do last week, and this Chiefs defense you can run on, if they're able to do that, they should be able to put up points. On defense, you got to sell out to stop the run. That's the only way they're winning this game. Alex Smith is not making plays against these corners, even though that Patrick Peterson has been bad this year. But Alex Smith cannot push the ball down the field at all. So you're bringing all your guys up, and I think that the Cardinals are going to win this game outright because of where they match up.
Yeah. I can definitely agree with that. We're going to start speeding these up a little bit. Next up is Seahawks, Eagles, and both teams have been playing well. The Seahawks defense, I think, matches up not very well against the Eagles offense, so they're going to struggle there, and I'm not too confident in the Seahawks passing offense, even though the Eagles secondary isn't that good. So I don't know. This is going to be a hard matchup for the Seahawks to win.
Yeah, I think that I think that defensively for the Eagles they match up very well because the Seahawks aren't a very good. The receivers aren't very good. Their offensive line cannot really block, and Russell Wilson is really their only guy outside of Marshawn Lynch. And you have a very good Philadelphia front seven that dominated a very good Dallas defensive line. So I think they should have their way with Seattle on offense, or at least make it very, very difficult to move the ball. And offensively for the Eagles, they should. This is a physical team. And they got to copy the teams that were able to beat the Seahawks by just running the ball over and over again and trying to get push in the running game. And if they're able to do that, they should win. The Eagles are currently on a 10-game winning streak in the regular season at home, and I think they continue that winning streak by running the ball and playing physical on defense.
That's fair. Next up is a West Coast matchup between 49ers and the Raiders. The 49ers, Kaepernick has regressed. He's struggling a little bit. But at the same time, I think he's dynamic enough. There's enough pieces on this 49ers offense to beat what is a not terrible, but not by any means very good Raiders defense. And then on the defense for the 49ers, Chris Borland came in and stepped in well, the inside linebacker, and he's been playing well. And they've been able to get edge pressure with Alden Smith and Aaron Lynch. So I like the Niners matchup here, especially with being able to get pressure on Carr, and I think that's what's going to help them win the game.
Yeah, I agree with you, but on defense for the Raiders, they have a couple good pieces. Khalil Mack's been playing very, very good football. T.J. Carey's playing well. Justin Ellis has been playing well, but overall the team's not very talented, and it really just comes down to talent, defense to offense, where the 49ers really outmatched them. I see the 49ers being able to run the ball pretty well and should be able to pass the ball. I think the game should be a lot closer just because of how not good Kaepernick is and the strong play, I would say, from the Oakland defense. But on the other side of the ball, there's really no talent on the Oakland offense outside of a young Derek Carr, but he's still struggling, having his rookie growing pains, as you'd expect, and a very talented 49ers defense that should make things hell for him. Chris Borland's going to be very good against the run. Alden Smith and Aaron Lynch are going to come off the edges and create pressure. It's going to be a very long day for Derek Carr. I think it should be a close game just because of the Oakland defense versus the 49ers offense, but I see the 49ers winning.
As do I. Next matchup is Patriots-Chargers, and I'm pretty confident in the Patriots here because Tom Brady has been really good for most of the season, and Tom Brady has been really good for most of the season, and I think he's gonna be able to play well against. Well, the big thing is Patriots' offensive line has gotten a lot better, and they're gonna be able to play well enough against the Chargers' defensive line to allow Tom Brady to see the field and start dealing. And the New England defense is really good, and despite how explosive the Chargers offense can be at times, they're going to be able to slow them down and let Brady outscore the Chargers.
Yeah, I agree with you. On defense for the Chargers, their secondary isn't very good outside of Eric Weedle, and Jeremiah Tausch's been playing pretty well for them. Melvin Ingram's been playing all right for them, but overall they just do not have the talent, especially in the secondary, to match up with how well the Patriots are playing on offense. And for the flip side, the Patriots defense matches up with what the Chargers want to do on offense. Brandon Browner or Darrelle Revis can play Keenan Allen. Probably want Darrelle Revis on Keenan Allen, but I don't see the Chargers being able to get this out just because of how good the Patriots are playing right now, outside of their loss last week, and how well they match up on both sides of the ball with what the Chargers want to do.
Yep. And the final game, the Monday night game, is Falcons at Packers, and I really don't have any faith in the Falcons winning this game. They've been pretty bad for most of the year, except for that Bucs game. And I like Matt Ryan. Julio Jones is a good receiver, but the offensive line is not good. The running game hasn't been able to sustain success. So the Packers defense is going to have the advantage there. On the other side of the ball, the Atlanta Falcons defense is abysmal in most areas of the game, except for Trufant is a solid corner. But other than that, there's really not much they have, and Aaron Rodgers has been playing one of the best seasons of football I've seen in my lifetime, and he's going to be able to come out and just start dealing to Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb, Devontae Adams, and just.
Yeah, I agree with you. The Packers have been unreal at home this year, and the way that Aaron Rodgers is playing, he's playing at a historically good level. like nothing, like you said, like nothing that like I've seen ever. And this Falcons defense is horrible. I mean, they have 3 good players, but there's no way that they can match up with Aaron Rodgers and Randall Cobb, Jordy Nelson, Devontae Adams. There's no way that you can sell out to stop them, and then even if you do, you're going to end up getting burned by Eddie Lacy. I mean, the Packers are playing so well, and their offense still has balance to it. You're going to get burned, especially with the team defense that is so lacking in talent as the Falcons. And on the other side of the ball, Matt Ryan has been playing good football this year, but the Packers defense has really improved over the past couple of weeks. Clay Matthews is playing very, very well. Mike Daniels is playing well. The corners are playing well. Ha Clinton Dix is playing well. And it's just going to be hard to move the ball, especially in a situation where you're not going to be able to keep the defense honest, because 1, your running game isn't very good, and 2, you're probably going to be behind because your defense sucks. So the Falcons are going to have to pass a lot, and this is not a good environment for them to have to do that. I think the Packers are going to win outright.
Yeah, I certainly agree. There's really not an area that the Falcons can really win. Well, that wraps up the show. That weird technical error was on my part. I'm sorry for that. We'll clean it up next week, or I will. And but yeah, thank you.